Like that kind of stuff will get people to engage a little bit more from more of like a dreamer perspective. Questions like, what does your next house, what's the one feature your next house has to have? Or are you in your forever home? Yes or no? Like these are things that can, at the very top of the funnel, spark a conversation, because we believe that people grow into the conversations you create around them. Nice, congratulations. That's exciting.
Thanks.
Imagine if you actually recruited some people, how big that would get. Just kidding. I'm just messing with Joe. Joe's an amazing attractor. He's brought on quite a few people in a very short time, but I know he also has very high standards, so he's probably not happy with his numbers. So I'm just picking on him a little bit. Who else has a win that they would like to share this week?
I got under contract on a condominium for myself.
For yourself, the big one, yes. The one we've been hearing about.
Yes. No, not that one.
No.
I don't know which one Joe's been telling you about, but probably not that one.
No, I don't know. He just told me you were shopping he said you were looking at like a 2.5 million right at the harbor, big city.
Exactly, that one. But I'll be living in the car because I can't actually afford the monthly payment on the 2.5.
I heard you were looking in Big Poppy's building. That's what I heard. All right. Who else has a win they want to share from this week? Not all at once. Nicole Hellendorn has a win she wants to share from this week. I know because I gave it to her. No, you're not going to share. Come on. You owe me one. You're muted.
You're on mute, Nicole.
There you go.
Sorry, guys. I'm so not with it today. New listing, lead from Jon, but I couldn't use Jon's name. Like literally just had to ninja it. And it's a semi-hoarder house, but hey, it's a listing.
I got a referral, which was not a referral. It was like a random internet lead that this person had talked to, and they sent me over there. And I spent like 10 hours on it. And we went over like 3 times. It was great. Everything was perfect. And I thought we were all on the same page and we were going to do the paperwork and everything else. And then I called to follow up, and the guy basically like told me to go F myself and hung up on me. And then I got back in touch with him. I'm like, what happened? He's like, you didn't put anything in writing. I'm like, yeah, I did. And I like pulled it up and I showed it to him and everything. And he's like, I almost cut my finger off when you called me. We're done here. And he hung up on me again. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not getting that listing. So I called Nicole and was like, hey, it's a weird situation. You want to call this guy cold and see if you can take it? And she cold called him, and sure as shit, she took the listing. So congratulations.
You know that he's my new best friend. He's like a bear. He's like gruff, but he's like really sweet inside. And like I helped him like pick up a bag of mulch yesterday, and it was like, now we're best friends. It's fine.
There you go. See, just got to get the job done. And that is an important lesson because Nicole, has earned that position to get my extra, business and be brought in on opportunities, because she always shows up. She's got a great attitude. I know I can trust her. She kicks ass. Like she hits all of those things, right? And so one of the things that everybody on this call can learn from is like when you're just getting into the business, or Nicole's been doing this for, I don't know, 2 years now.
Year and a half.
Yeah, whatever, long enough, right? She's not new, but like when you're still kind of building your business, stand close to people who have a lot of business, right? Get close to people who are where you want to be, because there's always opportunities for other deals. There's always things that are coming up. And, the person who's standing there, who's the closest in proximity, who has proven themselves to be smart and hardworking and have a good attitude, that's the person that the deals are going to fall to. And so Nicole is, affectionately next man up in my world. And that's a tough spot to be in. That's a huge vote of confidence and praise for her to, that's who I go to when random guy says I almost cut his finger off, and I need her to go cold call a hoarder in Garden Grove, which most of you don't know where Garden Grove is except for that Sublime song. But
you know what? It's under 700K and we have showings all weekend, so
it's gonna sell in a heartbeat. So not a big deal. Cool. All right. What other wins do we have? Anybody else want to share a success story from this week? Anything that can motivate everybody else, give everybody something excited to think about or something fun they did?
Another listing coming on that I've spent literally 3 months on from start to finish. Friend turned client. I've literally sourced the contractor, did the design consult, full everything because they're out of state, and just completely remotely managed the project, got their parents moved out, helped them with all of that. And 3 months later, we're finally going to market next week.
That's amazing. Good job. All right, cool. So what do you guys want to talk about today? What topics do you have questions on? What are you seeing out there in the market? What are you struggling with? I have a couple ideas of things that I want to get to, but I'd love to hear your wish list first, and then we can go from there. Who has a question or a topic? And if you can't talk or won't talk, put it in the chat.
Can I have three hot content ideas? I need to do 3 videos or posts, and I'm just like, my mind's a little scrambled. So just 3 topical hot button, like what would you film if you had a 15-second window right now?
So let's open that up. Joe, I'll go to you first. You have a silly smirk on your face. What are your 3 hot topics that Nicole should film?
So my one question that I would need help is, are we doing towards prospective clients, agent attraction, or branding?
Potential clients. I'm still building my business. So I usually do like buyer, seller, investor, like things that you need to know. It might be very basic stuff for us, but stuff that most people don't. Or if there's like anything really topical, like I'll talk about Zillow, like whatever.
Joe loves to talk about Zillow. He wants you to do a whole
I already did a Zillow video though, so I got to do something different, or I do Zillow part 2 and really go in.
He wants you outside the headquarters in Irvine, interviewing, hot button interviews with guests as they walk by. Like, what does Spencer smell like? Like, we need to know the finer details.
Hold on. Do you want pictures of me and Spencer? I'll send those out.
No, I don't want to see those.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, 15 seconds for attracting prospective clients. What I would say is you want 15-second teaser videos about areas in which people are interested in. So you said you're in what, Garden Grove?
Orange County, yeah.
Okay. So what are the 5 secret hottest neighborhoods in the OC? It's 15 seconds of only teasing what it actually is with a lead into a different area or a different video, because what it's doing is it's providing something that people at the top of the funnel actually care about. So why I say this as opposed to say something about Zillow or inspection or about potential process is that's going to be attractive to people that are already working with an agent potentially under contract and not within a pipeline phase. But if you're doing something that people are going to, through hashtags or through just common generic interest, are going to be like, oh, wow, that's something that I do want to know about, that's where you're going to get the most capture for that type of segment.
Very cool. I can also make a longer format where I hit the top 5.
But that's the whole point, is like that 15 seconds is kind of like, that's your teaser one. You can then do a 10-minute video on that.
Chop it up and
Yep.
Yeah. So
great idea. Thank you.
I think that's a really good one. I think, they just came out with the thing about buyers agents commissions being published. I think a quick, like, what does this mean? I think explaining like the buyer's agent commission was always paid by the buyer, but it's really paid by the seller. So even though they want you to understand that it's paid by the buyer, it's still paid from the seller proceeds, even though the funds come from the buyer funds. And kind of break that down as to why they're making that a public thing, and showing buyers what their agent is making. Yeah, do I care? Like, so many agents are like, oh my God, I can't believe they're publishing our commissions or whatever. Like, I don't care. I'll tell every buyer all day long that I'm not paid enough on the buy side. Like, I'll take what they offer me, but it's not enough. But I'm not going to ask you for an extra half or full percent because I know you can't afford it. And that's just the market that we're in. So I don't have a problem defending it from my side, but like pointing out where it's at in Redfin and some of those details, like that's just sort of a trending topic. I think, schools are always a really sexy one. I think the cheapest house in Orange County type of post. So, hey, come see the cheapest single family detached home in Orange County. What does that look like? It's a 2-bedroom in Santa Ana that's falling over for $500,000. It's basically your new listing in Garden Grove. Those are baity type posts. Hey, I found this 6% cap rate, an investor type special. Like, hey, here are the 3 highest cap rate properties in Orange County. What do those look like? That type of thing could be really interesting. I also think that an interview with a couple different agents from out of state would be really appealing as well. So a lot of people want to move out of California, or look at, for anybody on this call, look at your cross markets. So where are people moving to? Where are people moving in from? And then set up some partnerships and relationships with those people to be able to say, hey, what does 500,000 get you in Phoenix? And have, those images or that interview done to highlight kind of what are the most explosive markets in the country. And right now, Phoenix, Boise, Austin, almost anywhere in Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, et cetera, and a bunch of others are, extremely hot and projected to grow significantly over the next 10 to 15 years and whatnot. So those are some that I think would be interesting. And then spring clean out. All right, what other topics or questions do you guys want to run through? Anybody have? Oh, we got one in the comments. How do you find open houses if you want to preview properties and don't have access to MLS? So Jamie, you're not licensed yet, I'm assuming, and you'll be getting licensed, so you don't have MLS access. You can look on Zillow for open houses. Dylan, what were you going to say?
There's a good mobile app that you can get as well. It is called HomeSnap, and when you look on the thing, it'll show you open houses in that area.
And we don't have any open houses right now in California because they're still illegal. So there are no open houses, but they will be coming back eventually. I'm sure of that. I won't be doing them ever again, but somebody might, like Nicole. She might be doing open houses at some point, maybe. Or that might be the next person who wants to, take that opportunity. And open houses are a really great way to generate business. They're a great way to meet people. Open houses have the you immediately be seen as the authority because you're the one standing in the house when they walk in the door. So the biggest benefit to a new agent to hold open houses is nobody assumes you're new. They just assume you're the expert. Because if you're standing in the house when they walk in, that means you're the expert. The problem with open houses is they're not very proactive. So you could sit there for 4 hours and nobody could come in. Or you could have 20 people come in and get no business out of it, right? You didn't generate any contacts or whatnot. So much like a party, right? Think of an open house like a party. If you hold a client housewarming party and you have 50 people come through, you don't want to collect 50 names and numbers and add them to your database. That would be creepy. You're never going to go to a party and like everybody who's there. So at that open house or at that party, you want to look for 2 to 3 meaningful connections. You can even go as narrow as 1. If you pull one awesome relationship with name, phone number, some relevant information about where they're looking, what they want, all that stuff, and you can follow up with them, that is way more valuable than getting 20 names and numbers on a sign-in sheet that you never formed a personal connection with. So rather than trying to be all things to all people, find the 1 or 2 relationships that are going to hit a little deeper and really focus on those. And that way your follow-up is more specific. You're hunting sort of your mind, you're matching, you're really looking for somebody that matches your vibe and relates to your values. So I think that's a much better approach. And then, yeah, HomeSnap, Zillow, those are great ways to find open houses once they're available, driving around areas, looking at signs, obviously, the newspaper. And yeah, those are good. Nicole, I'm still working leads from over a year ago. We have an open houses, wanting to relocate here, but delayed due to COVID. Yeah. And so, open houses are great. If you're going to hold an open house, right, be proactive about it. So door knock the entire neighborhood, invite them to the open house, put out a bunch of signs. Don't put out 2 signs. If you're going to prepare some good shit. Like, have really interesting market statistics. And what I used to do when I was holding open houses is I would blow them up on like 11 by 17. I'd take all the information, all the comps, everything else, do a CMA, and I would blow it up on big paper, and I'd put it on the kitchen island. And the second that a high C personality walks into the house, they immediately walk over to the spreadsheet and they look down and they start looking at it, right? And they pick it up and they touch it and they want to look at it. So it's like a personality test. A high D just walks in, takes a look around, maybe says hi to you 2 seconds, and they're out the door. They don't really care. A high C wants to sit down and kind of go over the data, right? They're really interested in the numbers. And so what I would do is they would always go, oh, can I get a copy of this? Or I would say, oh, do you want a copy of that? And then they'd want to take it, right? And I'd be like, no, you can't take it. That's my only one. Now, why do I not have 25 of these printed out? I don't want to give it to them. I don't want them to walk away with a piece of paper that has all my information. Anytime you're giving someone quality information, it's an exchange. You give them something they want, and in return, they have to give you something you want. What's the thing you want? You want to know how to get a hold of them. So you say, oh, would you like a copy of that? And they go, yeah, this is amazing. Can I take it? They start to fold it up and put it in their pocket. You go, no, you can't have that one. That's my only one. But I have it on my phone. I'll text it to you right now. What's your number? And then we do the old, what's your number? And we look straight down at our phone. And we do not look up from our phone until they give us their phone number. That's how you get anyone's phone number. Works at bars too. Don't abuse that skill set. That is a secret. But it does work. So Paula, if you're, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not hunting at the bars for numbers. Maybe Joe. Do you have a question, Joe? You want to add something? Yeah, go ahead.
So what we have been doing when we're allowed to do open houses is we actually don't give handouts anymore. You have to fill out a Google form, which is accessed by scanning a QR code to sign in. And when they do the sign in and show us the questionnaire has been filled out, where we get their information and we let them in based on them showing us the validated email that is sent to that person, so no fake emails. There's an additional QR with the listing sheet inside the house.
So I like that. Some people aren't going to fill it out correctly. Some people are going to put a real email, but not the real phone number. The reason that I want to text it to them is that I don't care. Like personally, I don't want them because I'm not going to follow up with them. So if you have an email campaign and you run a retargeting system and you do the high level 10 steps of nonsense that Joe runs, then yes, absolutely. QR code, email grab, do the whole thing, right? That's the way that they would tell you to do it, like professionally. But for me, I like it a little more quick and dirty. So if I get their cell phone number, that is God as far as I'm concerned. Because I know that the best way to get a hold of almost anyone right now is text message. If I call you, you don't want to talk to me. And if I email you, you're probably never going to read it. So if I can get your text, if I can get your cell phone and text you, then as soon as you leave or at the end of my open house, I can shoot a quick video and I can say, hey, Jimmy, it was so nice to meet you at the open house today. Super excited to help you and Samantha find a great 3-bedroom condo. I know you need a little bit of backyard space for Brutus. Gosh, he sure was cute. I'm glad you brought him. Hope you liked the dog treats that we had at the open house, blah, 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 whatever, right? And so I can send a quick 30-second intro follow-up text with a video to the person whose info I captured at the open house, which is then going to further cement the relationship. And it's also going to reaffirm the fact that I was paying attention. So if I recap all that data that I collected in our 2-minute conversation, that's going to give them more confidence. And out of the 5 open houses they visited, mine is probably the only one who did that as a text follow-up with a video. Additionally, what a lot of people won't do, when we get back to open houses, et cetera, is a lot of people won't have the relevant data for all the other open houses. So one of the best things you can do is say, hey, do you have a list of all the open houses today? I have one right here. I'm happy to send it to you. I'll text it to you right now. And so rather than just the MLS info or the school info or whatever, you can text somebody all the open houses for the day. And then what program do you use to do the video? I just use my phone. I just use the camera. I just turn the video on and I take a quick video with the camera and then I send it out. Super easy. So it takes about 20 seconds, you send it over, they get it, everybody's good. The other thing that you can do with that is, so send them, here's the open houses in the area. But the best move I've ever heard from anybody, and you can do this with showings too, but it works better with open houses, is you find 2 or 3 properties in the area that are newish to market. You want them to be not on open house, and ideally maybe even appointment only. You want it to be similar to the property you're looking at, and you want to pre-book the appointments for the same day you're doing the open house. So if I'm doing an open house from 1 to 4, and I know that there's a great property down the street that's appointment only, no open houses, and it's going to be similar to the one that I'm holding open, I'm going to book an appointment for it at 4:30 or 5. And then anybody who comes into my open house, I'm going to say, oh, by the way, have you seen 123 Main Street? And they're all going to say no, because they didn't book an appointment and it's not on open house. And I'm going to say, okay, well, I got to be here till 4, but I can take you over there to see it at 4:30 when I'm done. Do you want to meet over there at 4:30? And then they're all going to say, yes, we do, because it was on our list and we wanted to see it and we couldn't get in because it's appointment only and we didn't know how to make an appointment, or we were just looking and we're not at that stage yet where we're ready to make appointments. But now you've pre-booked an appointment and now you get them onto the next site, and then you can continue to demonstrate how you can, provide value and give them great service on an ongoing basis. Does that make sense? Is that a helpful strategy for everybody? Have you guys heard of that one before? No.
John, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
You led off this segment by saying you were never doing open houses again.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that?
I can. I hate open houses. So one of the best, most amazing, coolest things about real estate is you never, ever, ever have to do anything you don't want to do. And anytime you believe that you have to do something that you don't want to do in real estate, it's because you're not doing something that you should be doing that would get you out of that. And so if you have to door knock or open houses or cold call or whatever, it's because you didn't do a different activity that got you to a point where you don't have to do that. And so now you're worried, or you have some false story or some false narrative in your mind that you're like, well, if I don't do an open house, then my clients aren't going to hire me. Well, is that true? Like, no. Number one, if the client wants open houses, I can always get somebody to do it. Do you know that I just heard, this is an amazing thing that I had never heard before. People are now charging other agents to let them hold their open houses. Have you heard of this? So if you want to hold my listing open, which by the way is a favor to me, you have to pay me $100 for the privilege of holding my listing open this weekend. And if you sell it or you get any buyers off of it, I want to split the commission with you.
Wow.
That's crazy, but that's where we're at. So, most of the time, anytime you find yourself doing something that you don't want to do in real estate, it's because number one, you're scared. You have some kind of limited lack belief or limited mentality, or you're not making enough money, or you're in this fear position and you have to act out of fear. Or it's that you weren't unwilling to have a straightforward conversation with your client. So your client's like, John, I love you. I love your marketing plan. I love everything about what you're doing. And I'm only hiring you if you agree to be here Saturdays and Sundays from 8 to 9. We're going to do open houses all day long. I want you here 12 hours a day in a clown suit with a sign, and we're going to do the whole thing. Right? Well, no, Mr. and Mrs. whatever. Hold on a second. So you need to just set expectations, right? You have to have a conversation with your clients and explain to them how properties actually get sold. And properties don't actually get sold from open houses. And occasionally they do, but most of the time they get sold because a buyer comes in the back of another agent's car. And so that's just a conversation you have to have with your clients about pricing and about strategy and about how you're going to expose the home on the market, who's going to come through the property, et cetera. And, one of the best things that we had found is to really shorten the time period for open houses, because the more people pre-COVID, the more people you could get into the house at the same time, the more likely it was to fuel that sense of competition that was then going to generate multiple offers and, make everybody feel like there was a scarcity of product, which now you don't really have to paint that picture of scarcity, because pretty much everybody out there knows that, there's no inventory. So I don't know that I'll be doing open houses anymore, but we'll see. You never know. Things change.
John, I'll do all your open houses. I love an open house.
It's $100 an open house.
No,
And you have to give me 50% of all the buyers who come through.
sounds high.
All right. She drives a hard bargain. We'll see.
Wait, John works with buyers?
Occasionally.
He does when he's poaching 50% of Nicole's cut.
That's right.
Right.
As long as I never have to meet them, I work with them all day long.
Right.
I just don't want to see their face in person. All right, cool. So then if nobody else has any other questions, if you do, raise your hand now or, unmute yourself, speak up. I'd love, yeah, Mark, you had something?
For the Instagram, do you have a real catcher idea to bring in new prospects through Instagram?
That's a good question. Yes and no. Anything on any social media platform needs to be engaging. So it has to induce or create an opportunity for you to have a two-way conversation. Nobody just saw your ad and then called and was like, oh my God, that's such a pretty picture. I want to buy that house. You have to give them a reason to want to contact you, which generally has to be like community driven or somehow engaging. I find Facebook to be a more engaging platform than Instagram, because Instagram's more about the pictures. If you want somebody to follow on Instagram, go follow Nicole. Nicole has a great Instagram. She does great content creation. Like she said, it takes a long time to build that as a brand. If you want, Megan Niles is in our group. She has a phenomenal Instagram and Facebook. She does a lot of referrals that way. So go find people. One of the best Instagrammers on the planet is a guy named Kenny Fast, Joe's coach and inspiration in life. And Kenny does 100 Instagram stories a day. So Kenny, yeah, I like that face crusher. Kenny documents everything. So Kenny's taught me a lot about life in that regard. And I do believe that if you document everything you're doing, you have this very transparent and authentic, still curated, but relatively authentic version of your life going out. And people build trust with that really quickly. So Kenny, if you follow Kenny's Instagram, you will see rundown properties, you'll see buyer tours, you'll see random foodie restaurants all around the Bay Area. You'll see him traveling around the country. You'll see him in his Corvette. You'll see him, smoking weed on a Saturday night, grinding up the weed and the edibles. And, you'll see him drinking a giant bottle of tequila and vodka and whatever. Like, yeah, Nicole's like, I told her to go look at his stories and she was like, dude, that was a lot. And I'm like, I know it's a lot, but when you live your life like that, when you put all that content out there, because it shows all the aspects of his life. And so nobody like hits up Kenny after watching those and has any question about who Kenny is. Like when you reach out to Kenny after watching all that shit, like I know what he ate for breakfast. I know what he ate for lunch. I know his favorite color. I know what car he drives. I know what him and his girlfriend are up to. I know all about his real estate stuff. He talks about Compass and other real estate brands. Like it's an amazing thing to watch. So I've learned a ton of information just by following along with him. So that would be my biggest advice, is go find some of those agents that you want to kind of model yourself after and just take tips and tricks from what they do. But the best way to generate real estate business through online social media presence, et cetera, is to build engagement and trust. And so you have to have a plan to create a funnel like Joe was talking about with the videos or anything, right? It has to start with sort of that top layer of like, how can we build a relationship before you're at the home buying process? Most real estate agents start too far down the funnel. They start with like the 6 things you need to know about your home inspection. Well, guess what? The only people who want to know anything about a home inspection are people who are already buying a house. So you've already lost the battle before you even started. So the things that people at the top of the funnel want to know about are schools, areas, restaurants, just in general, overviews of communities and what's going on, a general sense of overview of like, how much money do I need to save for a down payment? One of those like engaging posts about like, private message me your rent and I'll tell you how much house you can afford. Like that kind of stuff will get people to engage a little bit more from more of like a dreamer perspective. Questions like, you know, what does your next house, what's the one feature your next house has to have? Or are you in your forever home? Yes or no? Like, these are things that can, at the very top of the funnel, spark a conversation, because we believe that people grow into the conversations you create around them. So if you start to talk about properties in Phoenix, and if I start to market to my farm about properties in Phoenix, and my Instagram feed has some properties in Phoenix and Phoenix and Phoenix and Phoenix, next thing you know, one of my friends wakes up and they're like, fuck, I want to move to Phoenix. And they don't even know why. But it's because I put the thought in their head of like, hey, you know what? Phoenix might be a good idea for you. And that really is true. That really is how people make those decisions, because today they're sitting in their house and they're like, cool, I'm going to live here forever. And they have no idea that Phoenix is growing at a 13% year over year rate. And the prices are going up faster than anywhere else in the country. And that they can get 4 times as much house for the same amount of money in that area. And all the new developments and the shopping centers and all the other fun stuff that they're building there. They don't know anything about any of that. So that's your job to bring that to them. Hopefully that was a helpful, long explanation about content creation. But stories are where it's at. Where are you going to get all this market information? From agents in that market. So I'm going to find referral partners. So one of the other best things you can do, and Joe and I know a lot about this on social media, is network with other real estate agents. So if you want to have referral partners in every major market, or you want to go on howmoneywalks.com or some of these demographic or data sites that show where money moves to. So you have people moving from California to Texas and Idaho and pretty much everywhere. But you can look in any market and see where your feeder markets are, right? You probably already know. If you're in Boston, you probably know that people are buying vacation homes in Cape Cod and whatever else that looks like, right? You understand how these markets kind of cross over one another. Then you identify those cities where you want to build relationships in, and then you go find agents that you resonate with. So like, you're not going to call, see, this doesn't bother me because you're not going to call my people and I'm not going to call your people, because the people that you want to network with in Phoenix are not the same people that I want to network with in Phoenix. Do you know how many real estate agents there are in Phoenix? A lot. There's 8 real estate agents in Boston on this call alone, like, right? But that doesn't stop y'all from doing business. Doesn't stop you from working together. So there's no reason that you can't all utilize the real estate network to go learn about other markets, to build that network across feeder markets, and then help each other. And then you get to promote their content in your market, and they get to promote your content in their market, and it just creates this nice symbiotic relationship. Okay. Other things are national publications. So anytime they publish those like predictions or forecasts of which markets are likely to appreciate the most or whatnot, those are always really interesting pieces of content to then push out to the remainder of your database, or just to anybody, your network, your social media, anybody who can get in front of it. Because guess what? Everybody's always curious about that kind of stuff. Right? People always want to know what's going on, in a broader market sense, and which markets are hot and where should I invest and all that other stuff. Okay, cool. So we have about 15 minutes left to dive into some other stuff. So I think what would be helpful to go through in the next 15 minutes is how to actually set the appointment. So let's talk a little bit about, right? So we've talked about, you can farm, you can cold call, you can work open houses, you can call your sphere, you can work agent to agent referrals, you can do all that. You can, there's a million ways to ride a bike in real estate to lead generate, right? We use that term very broadly. And we've talked about the fact that there's lead generation, but really what most of it is lead follow-up, because very rarely does a lead convert on the first call. So very rarely do I get an online lead or any kind of lead and they just say, hey, come list me today, right now, right? And so what you need to do is you need to first have a follow-up system that's going to allow you to engage with them multiple times until they actually do convert. And the second thing you need to do is you need to learn how to set the appointment, and you need to learn how to close faster. So I would wager that the biggest problem that most agents have in setting enough appointments, so number one, I'll back it up. You don't close enough deals because you didn't go on enough appointments. Does everybody understand that? Okay. And the reason you didn't go on enough appointments is because you didn't set enough appointments. And the reason you didn't set enough appointments is because you didn't contact enough people. And the gap there is not in the contacts always, it's in the conversion. And the reason that you don't convert is that you don't close. So who here feels like they are an incredible closer and that they are just an appointment setting machine? Anybody? Close anything? Now Joe left because he couldn't close the door. So we'll let him go. All right. So nobody here wants to be the closing machine. All right. So, okay, perfect. Mark, you are the.
I only did one closing, and like you just said, it wasn't the first meeting. It wasn't the second, third, 10th meeting. It's like out there midfield. And a lot of it dealt with the person's relation, they were breaking up, going through divorce and stuff. So there's a lot of weird dynamics, and it just finally cleared. And then I got the listing. And then it was easy. So you have to be patient.
Yeah, you do have to be patient, and you do have to follow up. And part of it is just being in the right place at the right time when they're ready. Part of it is they didn't even know they were ready because you didn't close them and you didn't ask for the appointment. So what kinds of leads how do you want to role play this first? What kind of lead do we want? Do we want an internet lead, a sphere of influence lead? What kind of lead are we working? Dylan? No, Dylan's gone.
Could we do like just someone who's been looking on the website, but they're not new people, they're just active on the website.
Re-engaged. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Dylan, you'll be the website guy? You'll be the lead,
sure.
And I'll be the agent?
I'll be your guinea pig like every Wednesday.
Perfect. Thanks, Dylan. We appreciate you. We'll start paying you eventually. All right. So ring, ring.
Hello.
Oh, hey, Dylan. It's Jon Pugh calling from homesinboston.com. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing awesome. Hey, I'll keep this quick. I know you probably don't want to talk to a salesperson. In the meantime, I just noticed that you've been on the site quite a bit, and I see that you've been looking at a couple homes. You looked at this one on 123 Main Street like 4 times, and then this other one that you just looked at earlier today, like maybe an hour ago. Do you have any questions on those? How can I help you, with those properties?
No, we were just looking to see what was out there.
Just browsing. Yeah, no, I totally understand. Last time we talked, you said it was going to be about 6 months until you were ready to buy. That was about 3 months ago. Is that still the timeline that you're thinking?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're a little closer now than we thought we would be, but yeah.
Awesome. And so if there were a financial incentive for us to meet immediately, would you be interested in just grabbing a quick coffee and talking about, kind of the finer points of how we could save you more money by meeting sooner than later?
Financial incentive.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, look, the easiest way to explain it to you, what, honestly, I can't do it over the phone. When do you have 15 minutes that we can get together and I'll go over everything with you at that time?
I'm available any day after 5.
Okay, perfect. How's tomorrow at 5:15 at the Starbucks on the corner of Main and 3rd?
That works.
Perfect. I'll see you there. Okay. So we did a couple things there, right? We re-engaged with them. We said, hey, we know you don't want to talk to a salesperson. I'm going to keep this really quick. I'm just re-verifying that your timeline is still your timeline. And then I went straight into the close, which is, if there were a financial incentive to meet with me sooner than later, would you be open to a meeting? And then most of the time they're going to say, what's the financial incentive? And I'll be like, oh, well, it's simple. And then I'll stop myself and I'll be like, you know what? Honestly, I could try, but I'm not going to do it justice over the phone. I really think it's important that we meet. And I'm going to go right into that close. Yeah.
I have a question. So based on my experience that I told you, I had much that I'm working for the, car company. It means I'm selling a car. But when I'm moving to the real estate, its inventory is not as much as a car. So if the customer coming and looking for 2 doors, 4 doors, whatever, I had a lot of inventory. But in a real estate, we don't have that much inventory. 2 bedroom, 1 bedroom, 4 bedrooms, is different. Might be flat, might be, it's I don't want to go to detail that. But my question is, or when you find a property. It doesn't matter what type of business. But when you find out the customer like it, you need to little push them because they don't know is the property worth it or not, and is the right time. And when you click on it, when you hook on the customer, it's a time to selling them it.
Yeah. So with real estate, like you generally can't motivate somebody and you can't change their timeline. So their timeline is always going to be their timeline. So I need enough leads to coincide so that my sales will match up to my goals, but that needs to be irrespective of their timeline. Now, can I try and speed their timeline up? Yes. Can I meet with them immediately regardless of their timeline? Yes. If Nicole sees a house, so Nicole's good at this, if she's been shopping with somebody for 3 or 6 months and she sees a house that comes on the market that meets their criteria, she's going to call the agent immediately. She's going to book the appointment immediately, and she's going to call her client and tell them, we already have an appointment at this house. We're going to go see it because this is the perfect house for you. I know it is. So
Yeah.
she's got that level of confidence, but that's farther down the line. That's not on like the first meeting. That's not when we haven't
It's
established
not
a working
working.
relationship. But what a
Got
lot
it.
of people will tell you, right? So Dylan, let's role play this again. So you're a year out, right? So you
Yeah.
don't want to meet with me. So because you're a year out. So ring
Okay.
ring.
Hello.
Hey Dylan, it's Jon Pugh calling from Homes in Boston. How's it going today?
Good. You?
Good. Hey, I know it's totally probably caught you off guard. You're just on the website clicking away. I know that the last time we talked, you said you're probably about a year out. Are you still on that timeline?
Yeah, that's what it's looking like.
Okay, so about 12 months, maybe be in the, do you want to be in the home in March next year, or do you want to be in there more like April, May? When do you actually want to be moved in by?
Closer to summertime. So yeah, like April, May.
Okay, so April, May of 2022. And why, again, remind me why we're waiting until next year to make that move?
We got something on our credit report that we need to fix, and then we also want to save a little bit more for closing costs.
Okay, cool. And so it sounds like the financial piece of it is probably the number one priority in determining your timeline.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can make it swing if we absolutely had to, but yeah, right now that is it.
Okay, could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we have our down payment ready. When we talked to the lender that you actually sent us to, he said that we needed to fix something on our credit, and then he told us about closing costs, which we weren't necessarily aware of, and so we just want to make sure we're secure on that one.
Awesome. So it sounds like we have a little bit of time. It sounds like the financial component is the most important, and that there's a few things we got to do along the way. You know what, to be completely honest though, I think we might be able to put a better plan together than that. When would be a good time for us to get together? I know there's no rush, so we could do it this weekend or anytime next week. What's best for your calendar?
I'm actually going on vacation next week, so could we do it the week after?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just go ahead and pencil it in. How's like the 17th? I'll buy you a pint.
Sounds good.
Okay, perfect. I'll see you down at Malarkey's on the 17th to buy you a pint. So we closed it there anyway. So what we would actually do, so if Dylan, let's say Dylan's like, hey, I'm not buying for 9 months because I want to be moved in. So I'm like, hey, it's about a year. Well, actually, we'd really like to be moved in by next January because we're getting married in February and we want to be in the house before we get married. Okay, awesome. So we've got about 9 months to get you in the house. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct. Okay, great. So why don't we go ahead and meet now so that I can walk you through exactly why we need to get started today if you want to be in the house in the next 9 months. I'm gonna be like, what do you mean? Why do we need to get started today if it's 9 months away? Well, let me walk you through the process. So as much as I like you and you like me, do you want to spend 7 days a week together?
No.
No? How many days a week would you feel comfortable spending with me, Dylan, while we try and find your dream home?
Like one.
1 day a week? Yeah, me too. Okay, and on that 1 day a week, are we talking like 8 hours, or are you just going to carve out maybe an afternoon for me?
Probably an afternoon.
Okay, so we got one afternoon once a week. We've got 9 months. 9 times 4 is 28. So we've got about 28 days if we get started today. Does that sound fair?
Yep.
And we don't even have full days. We have like 2 or 3 hours for 28 days over the next 9 months. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. And then on top of that, right? So, you know, we have 28, 35, whatever days. On top of that, right, we got a 30-day escrow, and it's probably going to take us maybe 2 to 3 months in this kind of market to be able to identify the property. And we know we need to get the credit repair done, and we need to start looking at some areas, because you don't even have like a specific neighborhood in mind, right? You're like all over Boston. You're thinking like anywhere would work.
Yeah, I mean, I think we narrowed it down to North Shore, but yeah, that's it.
Okay, cool. So why don't we do that? Why don't we put that plan together? And then that way, we're not going to have to see each other every single week. We're not going to have to talk every single day, but let's just put a plan together where maybe we start by looking at a couple areas, keeping our finger on the pulse, work on the credit repair issues, you know, keep an eye on what's going on, because, you know, if there's a possibility to get you in while rates are still low, because we do think rates are probably going to go up. If there's a way we can figure out to save on your down and find the right property and something comes up, you know, would you be open to taking action sooner rather than later?
Yeah.
If there's a way, right?
Right.
If there's no way, then we wait 9 months, no big deal. But if we can get you in sooner at a lower payment, that would be ideal, right?
Yeah, probably save stress on the wedding.
Yeah. And you said, right, price and the financial component, that's the biggest deal to you, right?
Right.
Okay, perfect. So then we'll go ahead and do that. So you want to practice your closes. You want to practice your mindset around how you're going to get people in and why. A lot of times that timeline breakdown is really valuable, because they think that they have literally all the time in the entire world. And in reality, we all know they don't. They don't want to spend 7 days a week with you. They don't want to spend all day with you. They don't want to look every weekend. We want to gradually plan this out so that we're in the right place at the right time when they're ready to transact, but we're not rushed. And nobody wants to rush. Yeah, go ahead, Dylan.
So I just had a question, because both times we talked about actually meeting up in person,
Mhm.
and there's times where the person I'm talking to is super COVID
Yeah.
cautious, and they're like, I don't want to meet up in person
Totally
unless we're looking at houses. So how do you kind of overcome that objective?
Yeah, you have a Keurig?
No.
Okay. Well, most people do. So I would put it that way. I'd ask, you know, they'd be like, I don't want to meet for coffee. Great. Do you have a Keurig? They'll be like, yeah. I'll be like, great. Hit the Keurig button, grab your cup of coffee. We'll meet 3 minutes later on Zoom. We'll do the home Starbucks version, right?
Okay.
And
we'll
so I'll
do
just
it,
close
we'll
them
do
into
it
a
like
Zoom call.
right now instead of at
We'll
the
do it on
event.
Saturday. We'll do it whenever it's convenient for you. We don't have to hop on right now.
Okay.
But you tell me when you want to grab a coffee and we'll meet through Zoom instead. I mean, I'd rather see you in person, socially distanced, outdoors with a mask on, whatever, because you're always going to perform better in person. If you can get them in person, you're always going to convert better. You're going to develop trust better. You know, they've done all these studies about this, right? This Zoom nonsense, and how it actually makes it worse for people, humans, children going to school. It makes it worse because you get the visual. So you're supposed to feel a sense of connection because you're seeing other people's faces. But scientifically, because you're not in front of a human being physically, you actually don't get the same chemicals released into your brain. And so it actually makes it worse for you. It actually creates more of a disconnect. So I think Zoom is an incredibly powerful tool to continue to communicate and do work and possibly break the ice and get a first meeting in. But ultimately, getting face-to-face is most important. You always want to get belly to belly with people. And for your best people, you want to take them to lunch, and your best people, you want to take them to dinner. And so if they're super COVID freaked out and don't want to do anything, totally understand that. But for everybody else, you want to continue to live in the world that we're going towards, not the world we're coming from. So when we first got locked down, we were moving into a period of full lockdown. We were moving into a period of no open houses. We were moving into a period of full technological revolution. We needed to get people on Zoom. We needed to do Zoom buyer consults. We need to do all that stuff, right? Skate to where the puck will be, right? Don't skate to where the puck is. Skate to where the puck will be. Well, now we're coming into re-entry, right? We're reopening. And so you need to start skating to the reopened version of the market. You need to start thinking about, if you're going to do open houses, what that's going to look like, how you can get yourself back out there. If they haven't let, like, right, Paula, you haven't been able to door knock in a year, right?
I actually started canvassing for one of my listings, but it was not door knocking. It was just canvassing the area.
Yeah, see, because nobody's been out there doing it. So now, like, yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, we're not supposed to, I'm not going to tell anybody to do anything that's not supposed to be done by dear Governor Newsom. But at the end of the day, the first person to get back out there after a year of no connection, of no door knocking, of no conversations, you're going to have a competitive edge. When you're the only open house, because nobody's figured out that you're allowed to have open houses again, or nobody's doing them or whatever, you're going to get all the traffic. So skate to where the puck will be, start behaving in more of a way of a reopened society. You know, yes, Zoom is great. Yes, the technology is great. Yes, all that stuff helps. But people are going to be anxious to get back into gatherings and groups, community events, neighborhood things, client appreciation parties, all that stuff that we got rid of for the last year. That stuff is going to be at the top of the priority list for all the people who want to come back out and do get out of the house and get engaged. So I think those are really important things to plan, if not for right now, for the second half of the year. If you don't have that stuff calendared for the second half of the year, then you're going to be behind the eight ball.
That's so true. Can I add something?
Yeah.
So I've been canvassing for my listings these last 4 weeks, and in the last 4 weeks we've been very consistent, and we've managed to make 14 seller prospects, so that we're like following up with, and 2 of them are coming soon. So it's just a matter of being consistent and staying up, like John said, belly to belly, you know.
And what is your conversation kind of looking like to get those people to raise their hand as a prospect?
You know, the house is owned free and clear. They're empty nesters, you know, I catch them outside sweeping, you know, elderly people who are just like living in this big empty home, you know, pretty much just that.
And what's your conversation? What are you saying to them? Like, hey, you know, nice to meet you.
Yeah, so our conversation is like, hey, we just sold these 2 properties. We had 2 listings on the same street. We got 14 offers, 55 over asking. You know, are you thinking about selling? Take advantage of the market. Do you know anyone that wants to be your neighbor?
Perfect. Now, for all of you who didn't just sell 2 houses for 55 over listing, and you don't have any listings and you've never sold a house, let me shortcut this for you. Every single neighborhood has a house that just sold with multiple offers over asking. So you find any recent sale, you call the agent and you're like, hey, I know you just put 123 Main Street under contract. Shoot, I just missed it. How many offers did you end up with? Oh, we got 32 offers. Oh, wow, really? How high did you go over asking? Oh, we got 50,000 over asking. Now, they might not all tell you, but most of them will, because it's their ego, right? They're all wrapped up in the results that they got for themselves. But guess what they're not doing? They're not taking that information and spreading it to the neighbors because they're lazy. So what can you do? You can take that data and then you can door knock the area, or not door knock, but go canvas the area, however you want to do it, right? Based on the legality of COVID at the time. And you can go and tell that same story. So, hey, Mrs. Old Lady, did you know that your neighbor just sold their, house? They got 15 offers for 55,000 over asking. It's the highest sale we've seen in 10 years in this neighborhood. Did you know that? They're going to think you sold it. They don't know that you didn't sell it. They don't care. They just want the information. And if nobody else has taken the data and gone to present it in person to the neighbors, then that's a ripe opportunity for you to do it, right? And it doesn't have to be your listing. Now, don't go and say, I sold the house around the corner, right? But you can say the house around the corner just got 15 offers. Did you know that? I'm like, no. Great. You want to talk about getting 15 offers for your property? Yeah, Nicole.
Similar thing, a good piece of marketing collateral I've seen, because my neighborhood gets really heavily farmed, is an agent having a house 2 blocks over and then sending a handwritten letter to all of us and basically saying, we just listed this house and we're going to have, showings happening. And this house may not be the right house for these people, but they are looking in this tract. They are looking in this neighborhood if you're interested in selling. It was just a little bit more intelligent and nicer than the basic farming materials we usually get.
100%. All right, I am going to wrap it up there. What are some ahas? What did you guys learn today? What are some items of value that you're going to take away from this or implement?
I really liked your social media idea post for the cheapest home in whichever area. Here in Chino Hills, we definitely don't have a lot of cheap homes. So finding the cheapest condo or anything that would be, great content. And then also the 15 seconds for agent attraction. That's what I'm looking at too.
Cool. What else do you guys learn today?
Learned about actually going for the close instead of kind of soft closing, and appointment setting is major.
So just close all the time. So I'll send you guys, if you remind me, I'll find them and I'll send you the types of closes, but there's basically 10 types of closes. There's, hey, Dylan, why don't we get together tomorrow? Right? That's like a direct, like hard close, like, hey, Dylan, let's meet. One, that I kind of gave was like, I started to explain something and I was like, no, you know what? I can't really explain it over the phone. Why don't we meet? That's like a takeaway close. That's like, I was starting to give him some information. I took it away and I said, let's meet instead. A really soft close is like, hey, you know what, Dylan? Gosh, it sure is great to catch up with you. You know what? Would you be offended if I asked if we could meet? Right? Like a would you be offended? Everyone's going to be like, no, I wouldn't be offended. It sounds weird because you don't use that language. The reason it's written that way is because it's supposed to be a pattern interrupt. So you want to make it weird so that they pause and they're like, no, I wouldn't be offended. Why would I be offended? And you're like, I don't know. Why would you be offended? Let's go have coffee. Right? So there's a million different types of those, positive, negative close and whatnot. And if you guys don't know them all and don't practice them all, then you're not going to use them. But the trick is on every single call, you want to close 7 times. And so when I'm talking to Dylan, I'm going to immediately get the first close out of the way. I'm going to get him on the phone and be like, hey, you want to go see those houses? And he's going to immediately say, what? No, I don't want to go see those houses. I was just looking, right? I'm the shopper at Nordstrom. I just walked in. No, I'm just browsing. So if you close faster and you close more routinely, you'll get the no's out of the way so that you can get to the yes. But if you're not closing 4 to 7 times on every call, then you're not going to set any appointments. What other ahas did you guys get? One more and I'll let you go.
Building a referral of the feeder market agents.
Yeah, feeder markets are
right.
So first, identify what they are, where they are, and then second, go find awesome agents that you have shared values with and a shared connection with to build that up. Agent referrals are one of the best sources of business. If you were dropped into Antarctica or Siberia or Cleveland, Ohio, and you didn't know anybody and you needed to find a real estate agent, how would you find one? Right? You're going to answer that question and you'll figure out how to prospect. You're going to ask a friend, a family member. You're going to ask a real estate agent that you know. You're going to Google it or look online. That's about it. So if you're not prospecting to one of those methods, you're not really going after how people choose an agent. First, answer the question of how someone picks an agent, then go put yourself in that position. Anything else is the wrong order of operations. Cool. All right, guys. Thanks for coming today. This was fun. Please reach out to me if you have any questions or need anything else in the meantime. Otherwise, I will see you guys here next week.
Hello,
Thank you,
John.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Have a good one.
Good one. Bye-bye.
John.
Yep.
This is Phyllis in New York.
Hi, Phyllis.
This was my first meeting. I want to say it was very informational. I appreciate listening to your comments and those of your associates. And also want to just tell you that I used to really enjoy doing open houses and the broker reviews. And you don't really sell a house on an open house, but you do create a relationship.
Yep.
And I love the broker reviews though, because that's where the house was really sold.
Absolutely. Yeah. The
Mhm.
agent are the ones who sell it. And so
Yes.
getting that relationship and selling it to the agent population is always going to be more effective than trying to sell it directly to a consumer who's
Right.
The reason people don't buy houses on open houses is they're usually looking outside of their price range or they don't know what they want.
Well, the other thing I used to always do is prepare one sheet only, just like you said, don't give it all away,
That's right.
of what financial institutions were offering for loan amounts and interest rates and credit ratings. And that way, I didn't necessarily sell that open house to that prospect,
Yeah.
but I did get a lead from somebody that actually ended up as a result of the neighbor, say, wanting their daughter or their son. That's, yeah, you don't give them all the information the first meeting.
That's right. You gotta,
Yeah.
and you have to have a way to get in touch with them after they walk out the door.
Always did. Always.
Well, very nice meeting you. Thanks for coming.
All right, certainly.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
You too as well.